Hey everyone, welcome to Girls Can, a series of podcasts created to help educate and inform young women throughout the world.
Our goal is to empower and inspire the next generation because the girls of today become the future leaders of tomorrow. Hey everyone, I'm Brooke Swain and I'm sitting here with my sister Elizabeth. Elizabeth, why don't you tell us who is in the studio with us today?
Today we have Skye Bork in the studio with us. She is the winner of the 2017 National Scholarship Program Distinguished Young Women. Skye is originally from Washington, D.C., and she is currently studying applied mathematics and economics at Columbia University in New York City. Skye is here to give us insight into the transition from high school to college and give us advice on how to put our best foot forward.
So, first question, what was the best part about the Distinguished Young Women program?
Yeah, I mean, the incredible number of people and places you get to go that you would never have access to otherwise. I learned so much about the diversity and the level of just ambitious and intelligent young women that exist across the country. Being able to meet them and visit the communities that they're a part of was really, really special.
Do you have a favorite story from being a part of Distinguished Young Women?
Oh my, let me think about that one. Oh, well, this is just one moment that I really, really loved. So when you're getting to the end towards finals, the tension kind of starts rising and people get more and more nervous. But there's community night, which is the night before all the competition starts. And we did a lip sync competition. And just in that moment, all of the kind of anxiety and nerves went away. And it was all just about the community and sisterhood and strong network that we built during our time together. And I think that's the greatest part of the program. And it was really exciting to see that happen.
That's so sweet. How did you prepare?
So everyone has their own process. I would say, DYW is such an interesting competition and program because it has so many aspects to it. So in terms of my talent, I was in the ballet studio every day rehearsing my piece with my ballet teacher. And then for things like interview and self-expression, I would just ask my parents to ask me questions during dinner, and we'd kind of just do it like a conversation. That's what most of my preparation was like. And fitness, that was a tough one, but I just kind of do that on my own. But yeah, that was a tough part.
I know that being on stage can be terrifying at times. And so how did you cope with your nerves on stage?
There's a lot of performance that comes with ballet, so I had some practice before that, but it was really my first time kind of speaking on a stage like that in front of so many people. And I think the most important thing to me was the mindset, just going in every single time, remembering that I'm doing this for fun, just doing my best job, being your best self, as DYW likes to say. Just doing the best job you can and being happy with what you did and putting a lot of effort in, but not worrying too much about the results or being perfect. That's what makes it fun and actually enjoyable to be on stage.
So we've talked about Distinguished Young Women, but what else do you do? Do you have any extracurriculars?
During high school, I was really into ballet, but I also ran an organization called High School International Forums, which connected students in the U.S. and Japan to discuss and debate U.S.-Asia relations. So I kind of stopped that when I got to college. So now I'm vice president of my class, 2 years running at Columbia, so love being a part of student council, have worked on some really cool initiatives like a constitutional amendment. I'm a tour guide at college. I just love being a part of my school community in as many ways as possible.
What kind of constitutional amendment did you?
So it was an amendment to our student government constitution. So what we wanted to do was make student groups and clubs more accessible. So making the applications shorter, making sure that they're kind of general body meetings and not just like secret club meetings only for like the president and vice president. So we just kind of reallocated club funding to promote those that are really all about celebrating community. So just a fun thing we worked on.
Awesome. That's awesome. And then you mentioned that you had an initiative to connect people from the United States and Japan. How did you do that?
So I actually was lucky enough during 8th grade to study abroad in Tokyo for a year. My mom is from Japan, so there I was able to meet a lot of kids I think my grade alone was students from 46 countries. So bringing that spirit of internationalism back to DC was my goal. So I got in touch with some of my friends in Japan and we did Skype calls, pretty informal, but towards the end we started having moderators, ambassadors, professors come and moderate the discussions. But it was really just a matter of, connecting with your friends, people you meet, and making a project come to life.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. It seems like you're really busy. How do you balance your time?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm one of these people that I have to have my sleep. So I really try to just, do something until, I'm too tired and then just kind of let it go and not worry about it. I love learning, but you got to know when to put the books down and go to bed. But just making time for everything and not being so fixated on grades and classes is something that's really helped me because it's really important, especially at college, to have that kind of full experience. So making sure I allocate time for everything has been kind of my goal.
So you're going to be a sophomore at Columbia
Yes.
University. What was your transition from high school to college like?
I was just talking about you guys about this with you guys earlier, but the transition from high school to college is it's people always tell you that college is so different, but you can't really understand that until you get there. I would say the toughest aspect of it was this total independence that you now have. You're away from home, and it's really up to you to make the right decisions. But, you find your new support network in your friends and professors. So just really making an effort to kind of think about the things that are important to you and making sure to work hard at those things.
What's one thing you'd tell someone who's going off to college for the first time?
This was especially true for me, but take time to explore as many new things as possible. That can take the shape of taking a class you never thought you would otherwise, or joining a club, trying out an internship, just trying out as many things as you can, because college is kind of the one time where you get to just do whatever you want. I joined the ski team at my school, so just taking advantage of all the unique opportunities college gives you, because it's so easy to go in and just be like, I know what I want to do, I know my major, I know what kind of clubs I like, but I would say try some new things.
Skye, you are very successful, but how would you advise girls to put their best foot forward?
There's kind of two quotes that stick out to me when I think about that question. First is this one quote that's "Never, never, never give up" by Winston Churchill, and the other is just my dad telling me that hard work can get you anywhere. There's complications with that, of course, but just taking the best parts of those quotes, I would say putting your best foot forward is just a matter of figuring out what you're passionate about, what you're good at, focusing on those things, and just working as hard as you can, meeting as many people as you can who are interested in those fields, and never giving up, and determination will get you a long, long way. I've had an example at college, not getting into a class you want to be in because of a wait list. Keep going to that professor, emailing them, asking them until you get into that class. So persistence is key, I would say.
And I read your Distinguished Young Woman biography.
Okay.
And it mentioned something about your parents and how they have a very interesting history. There has to be a story there.
Okay, yeah, there's a bit of a story. So my mom was a punk rock singer in Japan. Yes, in her youth. I really wish there were videos. She's hidden them somewhere. It was a band called Tears. She's awesome now. She's a writer in Japan, based out of DC, but she writes for Japanese audiences. And my dad was a civil rights lawyer in Georgia, and then he worked abroad through foreign service, and they met at a language school in France. So they've had an international history, and yeah, they're great. They're different, but it works.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you think your background, coming from two different, like being in the same household as two completely different people and being raised by these two people, how do you think that's influenced how you are today?
I would say my mom, so she started out as this, she's more of a creative person, I would say. She was a singer, then she had an art gallery, and now she's a writer. So she kind of gave me the more creative, artsy, passionate side that, I love ballet and I love writing. So things like that I think came from her. And then my dad, he and I have these great academic debates and discussions, and he's honestly the person that instilled my intellectual curiosity in me. So the artistry and passion from my mom, and the kind of love of reading and school from my dad.
Have you faced any challenges throughout high school or even college, and how did you overcome them?
You probably know the Nutcracker. So I auditioned for Clara, which is kind of that big coming-of-age role, and I just bombed the audition, and I wanted it so badly, and I'd tried so hard. But the biggest thing I learned from that, I guess you would call it a failure, again, the story of persistence. I asked the artistic director if I could come in and be an understudy, so I stayed after the rehearsals and practice, and I actually ended up getting to do a couple of shows. So, I would say, no matter what challenge you face, there's a way to overcome it, so just don't give up.
That's great advice.
Who's your hero? Who inspires you?
Oh my gosh. There's so many incredible women these days that I really, really look up to. This might be a bit of an easy one, but I really look up to my mom in a lot of ways. Watching her build a career essentially out of, ground zero, she started writing these books, and just watching someone so close to you go after something with such a passion is really exciting to see, maybe even more so than like a famous person or someone you've never met before, because you get to see all the little bits of hard work and all the hours it takes to accomplish these goals. So I would say watching her path, especially the past couple of years, has been really, really exciting. Do
you have a favorite book that you would recommend to any girl?
I love reading, so it's always such a tough one. But the book that has always stuck out to me, it's one of my favorites, is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. At surface level, it may seem just this kind of like marriage plot, but in reality, you have these two rebellious women, Jane Austen and her main character, Elizabeth. So you get these two early, awesome women rebels and these powerful women. So if you can read between the lines, I think it's a great book teaching women about resilience, having your own opinions and will, and going after what you want. And it's just a great read, and she's a great author.
Okay, this is so funny. Our last interview, Dr. Jessica Grayson, she's a head and neck surgeon at UAV.
Yeah.
She said the exact same book.
No way.
Did.
It's a great book. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was great.
All of our listeners need to read it.
All right, and one last question. So for all our listeners out there, not just kids who are going off to college, what would you tell them? If you could go back in time, do something differently, that one piece of advice you'd like to hear?
I would really I've kind of already said this, but finding the things that you love, the things that make you really happy to do, and just work hard at them and not give up, no matter what it is, if it's a sport or it's a class or a club you start, to find that thing that really inspires you and then do whatever you can to make it a reality.
I'm sorry, but I really want to ask you another question. At Distinguished Young Women, you meet people of different backgrounds from different places. How do you connect to people?
The interesting thing about DYW is that it brings together people from such different backgrounds from across the country. I would say just having a simple conversation, There are basic things that connect us all, and kind of using that as a starting ground to just get to know people who may be very different from you, and finding the ground of similarity where you guys have the same hopes, dreams, likes, dislikes, and then from there, you can have all kinds of conversations, but, just having a casual chat, and we're really not that different after all, so.
Well, Skye, thank you so much for being here today. I know you have a really busy schedule, so it means a lot that you came to interview with us.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I've loved being a part of it. It's really impressive.
This has been Girls Can, a podcast and an organization dedicated to improving the lives of young women in our community.
We want to encourage young women to make a difference through education and service.
Because the girls of today become the future leaders of tomorrow. Because the girls of today become the future leaders of tomorrow.